Hello, this is a recall set of questions on photosynthesis and respiration. It's at a higher level. Please pause the video here so you can have a go at the questions. When you're ready, press play and I'll explain the answers and how you get there. So, part A, complete the word equation for photosynthesis. Word equation is our command word here. We need to make sure that we are writing words rather than symbols. In most cases, they will give you marks for some symbols. However, go with what they are asking you to do, because that is, in this case, the easier option. In most of the exam papers that I have seen, the word equations tend to have a gap somewhere and a little bit of a clue. However, it is worth knowing the equation for photosynthesis and respiration. Write it out on a post-it note, stick it around your house. They will come up at some point in time. So, what do we need for photosynthesis to happen? We need carbon dioxide, coming in through the stomata from the air, and water coming up through the roots, through the xylem into the leaf. We are making glucose. Often they will accept sugar. Glucose is just the more scientific way of putting things. And oxygen, which then leaves the leaf through the stomata and goes back into the atmosphere, so we can use it. B, what is the chemical symbol for glucose? Now, you're very unlikely to have that in an exam. The syllabus does state that you need to be able to recognise it. So you might not have to write it down, but they might write it down and expect you to recognise what it is. Fortunately, it's a nice, simple chemical formula in the way that the numbers kind of relate to each other. So C6H12O6. What that means is in one molecule of glucose you have 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens. State 3 factors that can limit the rate of photosynthesis. Rate we know is speed. These factors are called limiting factors. They're not stopping photosynthesis, they're preventing it from getting any faster. And that's a really important definition for you to remember. If we go back to our equation up here, we can clearly see that if we take away carbon dioxide, that's going to limit how fast that reaction can take place. So carbon dioxide goes down as our first answer. Now if we go back to our equation, we can see that water is part of what is needed for photosynthesis to take place. However, in reality, water would never be a limiting factor, so we're not going to write that down. Water isn't a limiting factor of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is one of the reactions that takes place in the cell, and all of those reactions are catalysed by enzymes. Therefore, temperature is going to have an effect. If the temperature is too low, then photosynthesis won't happen very fast. The other limiting factor, just think about winter time. It's not only cold, but there's a lot less light. And those are our 3 factors that can limit the rate of photosynthesis. You could also have on here amount of chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a green pigment inside chloroplasts that absorbs the light for photosynthesis to happen. Okay, question D. Describe 2 differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. It has actually got a little hint here. Make it clear which difference belongs to which type of respiration, and that's really important when we're doing a differences question, when we're doing a compare question, because it's basically asking you to compare two things about aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Okay, so our first one is quite easy. We've got air and anair, air with oxygen, anair without oxygen. So aerobic respiration requires oxygen, anaerobic respiration doesn't. Okay, you don't have to write out doesn't require oxygen, but you do have to make that distinction. Otherwise, you're not making it clear that you know that the difference is one does require oxygen and the other one doesn't. You're only stating a fact. So our second difference could be that anaerobic respiration has some different products. Now we can't just say has different products because we're expected to know what they are. So anaerobic respiration produces lactic acid, and aerobic respiration produces CO2 and H2O water. Okay, I haven't had quite enough space here, but I've still managed to get my answer in. Lastly, E. What is metabolism? Metabolism is a funny word. It's not used in a terrible amount of your course and it's easily forgotten, but it does turn up quite a few times in exams. Our definition then is the sum of all reactions taking place in the cell. You've heard of metabolic reactions, things like respiration, photosynthesis. They are all part of metabolism, building up of different substances such as carbohydrates or proteins, large molecules. That is part of metabolism. Anything that is happening in your cell is part of your metabolism. I'm going to put the mark scheme underneath just so you can see some of the differences on paper. Please feel free to pause this here so that you can have a good look at whether you've got these right or wrong. Thank you for listening.